How many of you know what are telenovelas? You do, good. So telenovelas are the original soap opera, or the original Spanish or Portuguese language soap operas. They run at least for 10 seasons, many times 20 years or longer. I think in the English-speaking world, maybe Young and Restless can be compared to these long, never-ending telenovelas. Or maybe, if you remember from the 80s and 90s, the Dynasty, great TV show, or nowadays maybe Grey's Anatomy, or things of that nature. And telenovelas and soap operas are full of never-ending drama. Everybody cheats on everybody, of course. Everybody intermarries, marries their enemies, enemies become friends, people turn out to be bisexual, and on and on and on. It's never-ending, constant drama. One would think that drama and family conflict was invented with TV, but it was not. I think drama and family conflict has existed since day two. Maybe after Adam and Eve slept for the first time, they woke up and drama began and continues until now. Drama is a part of every family dynamic. Drama and conflict happens whenever two or more people gather together. Because we are passionate, we have our dreams, we have different likes and dislikes, and whenever two people decide to create family, after the first phase of och and ach, life sets in and drama begins. I doubt it ever ends. It has existed within the human history since day two, at least. It also exists in the Bible stories. Today, both first and second readings speak of Abraham. And the first reading from the book of Genesis, the editors of the church lectionary have performed some censorship. If you look in your missals, you will notice that the reading is cut out from two different chapters. The first few paragraphs are from chapter 15 of the book of Genesis, and the closing paragraph is from the chapter 21. So the story, the question that we have to ask is, what happened to the 6 chapters between 15 and 21? And the answer is, well, telenovela happened. A lot of drama and conflict. Abram, as you were reminded today, was promised by God that he will have plenty children, that his inheritance will be as multiple as the stars on the sky. But God's promise one thing, and life is another. Abram was getting older and older and older. His wife wasn't getting any younger neither. And finally, probably ignoring God's promise, Abraham decides to take things into his own hands. So he talks to his wife's lady-in-waiting, let's call her that way. Hagar was her name. And Abram says to Hagar, you know what? My wife isn't getting any younger, and God told me I have to have children. So will you help me, dear Hagar, to have children? And of course, she was very willing to help Abram to have children, and they conceive Ishmael. Now, Ishmael eventually becomes the older brother of Isaac, because Sarah eventually does conceive, and the whole drama never ends. The 6 chapters between 15 and 21 of Genesis are all about the drama between Abraham, his wife Sarah, his story of second wife Hagar, and of course Ishmael and Isaac have a very typical brotherly rivalry going on as well. So I am surprised there is no soap opera about Abraham and his women somewhere being created in the Hollywood. It's a great screenplay, and it sounds just like our TV shows. Family life is not easy. Families can be challenging, families can drive you crazy, and families can make you happy and warm in your heart once in a while. You know, I keep my family on another continent for a good reason. Holy Family is not an exception as well. If you think about Joseph, Mary, and Jesus, their life was not perfect. According to many apocryphas, Joseph probably was married before he met Mary. He was most probably a widower, so he is an experienced man. And then one day his fiancée tells him, "Hey Joe, I'm pregnant. The Holy Spirit impregnated me." Now, if I was Joe, I would say, "Holy Spirit, my," right? Now think about it. For Joseph, who is a very macho man, his fiancée tells him, "I am pregnant by the Holy Spirit." It could not be an easy experience. I'm sure some words were spoken. I'm sure emotions got flared up. I'm sure there were arguments, but eventually, after all the drama, Joseph decides to accept Mary and Jesus as his own. It could not be an easy process. It had to be a challenging process of accommodating two different persons into Joseph's life. And yet, we call them Holy Family. There is a reason they are called holy, not perfect. Because, to be absolutely honest, there is no such thing as a perfect family. Perfect families do not exist. If you strive for perfection, let me tell you right away, give up. It is impossible to have a perfect family. It is impossible to be a perfect wife, or perfect husband, or perfect child, or perfect mother, or perfect father. Perfection is beyond our reach. Now, what we can strive for is holiness. Your family, your relationship will never be perfect. But with all its drama, with all its telenovela screenplay material, your family can be holy. And in English, the word holy is not far away from whole, W-H-O-L-E. Because holy means that you accept the other persons in your family as they are, with their total wholeness, as they are, with their limitations and gifts, with all their quirks and with all the great things that they are able of doing. Now, some families we are born into, and with those we have no choice but to love them, sometimes from afar. Other families we can choose. And so we choose our spouses, we choose our friends, but we also choose our faith family. And I think it is one of the most important families you can choose. Just like with your boyfriends and girlfriends, Usually you don't get married to the first person you date. You have to date a few losers to find the right guy or the right person to stay with. You have to kiss several frogs to find your prince. And the same can be said about finding a right church. People sometimes settle for the church because it's close by, it's right in their neighborhood, or it's convenient, or they have good Starbucks in the church hall. Well, those are not the good reasons to settle down for a faith family. Your faith family should be like a good husband or good wife. You test them for a while, and then you decide, well, they are not perfect, but they try to be holy. Our church is far from perfect. Our faith family has plenty of its drama. And yet, even though they can make telenovela about St. Stanislaus, I think we try our darnest to be holy. We try really hard to accept each other as we are, with all our shortcomings, with all our wonderful gifts. We accept each member with her or his wholeness, because this is exactly how God has brought you to this place, to this family. And even though we are very much imperfect faith family, we can be holy, and we are loving and accepting. For this, I thank you, and a Happy New Year.